How do you make every day so fun that you don't even get time to scroll? I think that's a question that all of us in our generation need to ask because a lot of our time, a lot of our energy is being wasted, being stuck in the digital world. And it's gotten to a point where we're scrolling so much that we don't even see time passing by. Days and months feel like seconds because we're constantly scrolling. So, how do you make your day so fun and productive that you don't get time or you don't even think about actually scrolling? And I think it can all boil down to just two simple things that you can just implement on a daily basis. The first thing that I used to actually combat my scrolling addiction was to make plans and set time periods and time blocks for each period of the day. If you're constantly engaged into whatever you want to do and you're constantly productive and you're working on the things you want to work on, then you don't really get time to think about scrolling because you're always busy. I remember when I used to really scroll on my phone, it was always when I had nothing to do. It was always when there was a lot of free time and I would just run away to my phone because that was the easiest spot to get to. Now, because I've had an actual schedule for a while, and I built this schedule, I never actually have time to scroll because I'm constantly moving, I'm constantly engaged with productivity in a sense. You have to make the bad habit so hard to do that it's easier to do something else than resort to that bad habit. So for an example, if I have an addiction to my phone, I would remove all of the apps that I'm addicted to. So whether it's Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Once these apps are deleted, they're harder to access and it prevents me from going on them because it's easier to do something else than download all these apps just to scroll. And another thing you have to stop doing is scrolling on your phone whenever you're eating. It's not anything serious, it's not a big thing, but I see a lot of people constantly on their phone instead of actually focus on what they're eating. And in the moment, it's not anything serious. But over time, while you're eating, you're constantly looking for engagement on social media. You're constantly looking for that dopamine hit instead of actually focusing on your food. But that habit kind of leaches towards other aspects of your life because at one point, you can't focus on the task at hand because you're always constantly looking at your phone, trying to find that engagement that you really want. So whenever you're doing a task, do it and only focus on that task at hand. And my second thing that I did adds on to the first one because you can't have the first one without the second one. And the second one is that you have to find something that you're passionate about. You have to replace scrolling with something that you really like doing that overthrows your desire to scroll. And so one thing that I did was after I deleted all my apps, I found a replacement. And that replacement for me was playing an instrument and playing piano specifically. So whenever I used to get bored, I always had a piano right in my room and it was just so easily accessible that I would just play it instead of just scrolling. And that kind of acted as a shield for me and it replaced this idea of scrolling with something better and something more useful. Because truthfully, scrolling doesn't grant you any abilities. It just kind of rottens your brain and makes you lose your attention span. If you can replace your desire to scroll, and this could be by learning and getting better at an instrument, reading a book, learning how to build a business, it doesn't matter what it is. But once you find that suitable replacement, then you lose your entire ambition to scroll. You don't even feel like scrolling anymore. And I've heard a quote. I don't know if it's a quote, but I don't know where it's from. Social media is free because you're paying with your time. Now, I think that quote really shook me because time is something that you can't buy. You can't get more time. And what social media does is that it acts and portrays itself to be free. But the thing is, it isn't free. They are trading your time for profit. And I know this addiction isn't easy because it's so readily accessible that it's hard to miss. And the key thing to breaking an addiction is that you don't love it less. You have to find something that you love more. So if you're spending 5, 6, 7 hours on your phone, on social media, if you can cut down that by more than a half and you can spend time living in the present moment, living your life, then your life will be 100 times better. if you can use that time and work on something meaningful, work on something that will build you a better life in the long run, then you're so ahead of most people in our generation. So if there's one thing that I can tell you from this video, is that you have to find something that you're really passionate about, something that you can use to replace scrolling. Once you find that activity, whatever it is, write down how you want to accomplish this, how you want to better yourself at it, and make sure you write down a schedule where you're not bored, where all your time in the day is eaten up by the thing you love. Once you figure out what you're really passionate about, and once you write down your schedule for an entire day, then you will never crave the idea of scrolling ever again.